I have always been about self-improvement. I've never, even today, don't think I know everything. The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, probably one of the best books I've ever read. To think, this is what's interesting to me. I find it interesting that for business, people will actively pursue the best of what's out there. But in their personal life, they don't. We're going to win, the client's going to win, everybody's going to win because we play big over here. If you think you don't affect how people that work with you see the culture of the company, absolutely do.
All right. Well, I'm really excited this morning to be joined by Sandra Myers on But First Principles. She is the owner and co-founder of the Select Date Society, which is an elite matchmaking organization for high net worth singles. So, Sandra, welcome to the show.
Well, Colin, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. It's somewhat unique for me, just speaking to someone in this kind of industry. So I'm really looking forward to some of the conversation pieces. So we'll jump into the rapid fire questions, as you know. And the first one is, what's one piece of wisdom you'd love to share with other entrepreneurs?
Yeah, that's simple. Like a great idea is great, but if you can't implement that's the piece that you have to figure out. So a lot of entrepreneurs, they come up with a great idea, they think they'll be successful. The idea is probably the simplest part of it. The execution is the hard part.
Love it. Yes. Amen. Action, execution,
Mhm.
implementation. Cool. What's the most controversial opinion you think you have about business?
Well, this for me is simple because I learned it myself. Just because you can build a business doesn't make you a great manager of people.
Hmm.
And knowing the difference and knowing when to like hire somebody to do that piece, because that's just not what you typically entrepreneurs, it's not what they do well.
Love that because we often make the distinction between, like the experience of my dad was that he was a great operator within the business. He loved doing the things, serving clients, but he was not a good business owner in the sense of like creating a business and running a business. But there's even like another distinction. Okay, you can be a business owner, but it doesn't mean you're a great manager. And
Right.
so like leadership, management, and execute or technical proficiency, let's say, are three different things. That's great. Um, and then what's the most exciting thing, or what's the thing that excites you most to share in this podcast?
Probably just what I learned in starting a business is that trying to figure and having this mapped out equation for every single step that you take is probably not the wisest thing, because what I learned is as I went along, I gained knowledge that then made me adjust my plans of how to execute. So being nimble, I guess, would be the
Mm.
expression, and not being so rigid in your plan that you're so OCD about getting the plan accomplished that you miss out on opportunities to succeed sooner.
Hmm. Something that I say fairly frequently along those lines is um, the process of planning is invaluable, but the plan is almost useless.
Right.
Would you say that the same sort of idea?
Yeah, it's just like, if you're driving a car, this is how I think of it in my head because I'm a
Yeah,
very visual person. Like if I'm
awesome.
driving to somebody's house and it's telling me to go a certain way on the MapQuest, but
Mhm.
I know, like, wait a second, this goes right over there. I'm looking at the map. This road is like, make good decisions, like use common sense and use your critical thinking skills to make adjustments along the way that are going to be
Mm.
more effective. And sometimes you don't learn it until you get there.
Awesome. Okay, and then what is the thing that you think is most interesting about you?
Well, probably what other people would find really interesting is that I actually didn't get married for the first time until I was 40, and I didn't start my business till I was 50. So, not typical. Very
Yeah.
a
And actually, when I started my business at 39, I thought, man, it's too late for me. Like, I'm starting way too late. And, I knew that because of the background that I have, I knew that was, a disempowering belief. right? So I love that. I love that because
Well,
y-
just so you know, Colin, one of the things that I read that kept me from getting in my own way was that
mm,
actually Colonel Sanders from Kentucky Fried, he did not start his business till he was 65 years old. So I was like, you know what? If he could do it at 65, clearly I can do this at 50.
that's fantastic. Hey, thanks for listening. This is Colin Davis, and I just want to say real quick, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your stories. I'd love to hear what's landing. I'd love to hear what you love about the show and what's not working, what we need to improve, what you don't love. All of that helps. So drop a comment below, and I promise I will personally read every one of the comments. Thanks a lot. All right. And what do you feel like is your biggest accomplishment?
Honestly, it's building the team that we have,
Mm,
because you are either working in the business or on the business. The people that we have actively pursued, because this was not like out the gate. Out of
mhm,
the gate, we've hired people that we knew, that we liked. They weren't at the level that we needed them to be to
mm.
service the clients at the level that we were selling.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's like what you say has to match. And we
Mm,
learned very quickly, like, we've got to reconsider who we're putting in these seats. Right seat, right person, we're not there. So
mm.
getting the right team together, and it's been that case for almost 2 years now, has been the biggest accomplishment, I think, for both Amber and I.
Yeah. And do you feel like you're able to do that? This is a little off script, but I want to just dive into that for just
Yeah.
a moment. The you know, you present yourself, you're very, beautiful woman and very like polished, right? And
Yeah.
um
Thank you.
I absolutely. And there's I would bet a real iron will behind the polish because that I know some folks I've worked with really struggle with that reality that folks who are really great at stage one probably are not going to be that great at stage three or stage two, maybe.
Mhm.
Most folks you hire will not make it through the whole growth cycle of the business. And um, and when you start something that's like blood, sweat, and tears, especially the kind of businesses that I work with that are bootstrapped and kind of organically grown, that's very hard because it becomes like family.
Right.
So
I don't think
where, Mhm.
so. I was just going to say, I don't think you're doing anybody any favors when you keep you cannot fault yourself for hiring the wrong person, but you absolutely, as a business owner, your loyalty and your priority has to be the customer, and you
Mhm.
don't want to have to apologize. So it's keeping the wrong person is your fault. Hiring
Mhm.
them is not.
Beautiful. Okay, fantastic. And at the end of your life, when all's said and done, what do you want to be
Mhm.
known for?
Um, to me, it's just about doing the right thing when nobody's looking, because that's kind of been my mantra. I don't really care if somebody's watching me or if somebody knows that I did the right thing, honestly. And loyalty and friendships and supporting other entrepreneurs. It's why I was actually really interested in doing this today, because four of my friends in the last 5 years, I have gotten them to become entrepreneurs in their passion projects when they were miserable in their jobs. So I think it's those two folds, having integrity, but also supporting people's success.
That's fantastic. And again, a little bit off script. The my originally my background was in classical philosophy, like
Yes.
Greek philosophy especially. And Plato has this really interesting sort of mental exercise that um, I've actually gone through when I worked with like marriage ministry and like preparing couples for marriage. So a little, somewhat apropos here. Um, there's a little like mental exercise of like what makes anything good. Like when we say this is good, right? What does it make? What makes it good? And he uses different examples, like a knife. What makes a knife good? It accomplishes the action it's designed for, that its purpose is for, right? And the purpose of a knife is to cut. That's the purpose. And then the qualities that make it better or worse at cutting, like how the handle is shaped or how hard it is or how sharp it is, those are qualities that then allows it to fulfill its purpose. And that's also what makes it good, right? Both the qualities and the action. And what
Right.
you just named is exactly the same thing on the human level. What is our purpose here? I would argue universally in some way or other to do good for others.
Hmm.
And that's what
Agreed.
you're talking about, like, so, like helping other entrepreneurs. That's a very specific way, and which I feel strongly about as well. And then the qualities, well, integrity, right? I really do the right thing even when no one's watching. So that's great. It's not a question. I just really wanted to
Yeah.
jump in there because that's what I thought of was, a knife, right? To
Yeah.
cut and to be sharp. So that's great. So, okay, let's switch gears a little bit and get a little bit more into storytelling. And love to hear, like, maybe 2-minute version, your background, your education, your, like, even like family, home life to the degree you want to share that, and then um, your career and how you got here. So, in sort of the 2-minute radio version, right?
Yeah, I'm good at keeping it short. It's
Awesome.
hard because I don't like talking very much to begin with. Well, I started in this career when I came out of college. I was like, what do I do with this degree? I had a speech communications degree. My mother forced me to get it because I didn't like speaking in front of people. She figured this would help. It really didn't. I literally spoke as least as possible. Help me somewhat. I will give you that. But I got into sales. I was selling long distance. This is how old I am. I was selling 25-cent long distance to businesses. And that
Wow.
was a good deal back then.
Yeah.
And I hated it, but I loved the people. So I started setting up the people, and somebody knew of Andrea McGinty, who'd started It's Just Lunch up in Chicago. And I was like, oh my God, this could be a career. So I wound up meeting with her, started in 1996.
Okay,
And
wait. Just stop for just 1 second, because
yeah,
just it's so you said I love the people. I love setting up the people. You mean setting up as in like setting up for dates?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I
so that was
did.
started very early on. Yeah, okay.
Well, because
Right.
I kind of I was doing the career before I had the business card.
Yeah.
So it's just something that I've always been good at, meant to do.
Right.
The fact that
Right.
it's a career, amazing. I never feel like I'm working a day in my life. Um,
Great.
but I wound up meeting my business partner through the company. We met in 2009, and we both were working. She brought me to a second company. It was supposed to be so much better. Everything was going to be great. I felt like there was a lot said that we were going to do, but it wasn't actionable. It wasn't
Mm,
happening. So I
yeah.
felt like I was a little bit of a hypocrite, wasn't feeling good about it. Uh,
Yeah.
Amber had a cardiac arrest, drove into a building, happened to be next to a fire station. They brought her back to life. She called me the next day. I'm in the hospital. I died. I'm back. We're starting a business. So that's what we did. I mean, how do you say no to somebody that just died? Like, it wasn't an option. So I
Actually, I think
told my partner,
when we
yeah,
talked about this before, I love it because you just like you just paint the picture, like she's just died, come back, and the one message she has coming back from the grave is we've got to start a business. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, so obviously she felt passionately about that, and it was like, well, how do you say no to that? So if you came
Well, she's
back,
like,
just
we
tell me.
gotta stop complaining and we need to
Mhm.
start doing. So
Mhm.
at 50, was I really
Yeah.
excited about it? Not really, but honestly, at the end of the day, best decision ever made, happier than I ever was. But I will tell you this, Colin, if I say anything to your entrepreneurs coming up, who you choose to spend your life with absolutely affects your success. Because my husband was on board. Her
Mhm.
husband, 1,000% on board. They didn't care if we lost everything. They believed in us that much that they wanted us to be fulfilled in our careers and happy in our lives. That it meant more to them to take the risk and support us than to tell us no, because you're making good money now. And
Yeah.
that's a piece of the puzzle that I don't think most entrepreneurs consider.
Mhm.
Who you choose to be with will absolutely affect your trajectory of success and your happiness with it.
Mhm. And both are really really important as far as I'm concerned. That's actually like my coaching is literally built around that. If you build a super successful business, but you're on your third marriage and your kids don't won't talk to you and you're, totally overweight and even medicate self-medicating with alcohol or whatever, like
Yeah.
what was the point? You know?
Exactly.
So, right. So both, and you can be happy and build a very successful career in business. Like you can do the both. You don't have to completely sacrifice your personal life in order to build a business. I
Yeah.
don't think that's true. So, um, yes, that resonates deeply with me, and I'm sure it will with the audience. And in fact, I was talking to somebody recently along those lines, and I asked one of the first questions, what are you most proud of, or what's your biggest accomplishment? He said, "Well, I built," and he built a very successful business, and I stayed married and raised my kids and was there present in my kids' lives. I actually think those are the two hardest things you'll do on planet Earth. So that's what I'm proudest of is doing both those things. So it's absolutely something you can do, and it's hard.
It's easy if you got the right person. That's why
Okay. Yeah.
our clients, this is why they come to us, because you know what? You can't help who you attract, Colin, but you definitely can help who you get in front of. So to me, if you were looking for a CEO of your company, would you
Mhm.
blindly put a ad out on the internet and like pick one of the five people that walked through your door first? Or would you have a recruiter actively go after the people that you know do it well and this is their highest priority that your company would be as well? No, you want the best of what's out there. So I find it interesting that for business, people will actively pursue the best of what's out there. But in their personal life, they don't. So it's just a mind
Yeah.
sweat.
Yeah. And obviously this is your profession, so you
Yeah.
have a lot to say about it, and absolutely, we'll take that. Um, so that said, you started your business, and you said at age 50 in 2009. Did I get that right?
Well, no, Amber and I met in 2009. This
Yeah.
happened
Okay.
in 2020,
Yeah.
which wasn't great because
Right.
6 months after we opened, the pandemic hit. So that's why I
Right.
say when you think you've got it all planned out, think again.
Mm. Yeah. No kidding, especially if there's, a global pandemic, for example.
Yeah, just a small little thing.
So, okay. And that's actually, I was about to go, like, so tell me a little bit about the journey, like, and the stages building the business. So 2020. So what happened?
Yeah, so we went from being a more in person and people meeting in person and us meeting to complete virtual. And, the thought process was this happened now for a reason. And Amber and I always look at things from an abundance perspective,
Yeah.
not scarcity. And where our belief system always is if this is happening, it's moving us to where we should be.
Love it.
So that's how we saw it. We didn't complain. We didn't whine. Our husbands weren't panicked. They're like, you'll figure it out. And we did. We went and we just believed that our connectability and our intuition and what we bring to the table will transcend in person. It will be just as effective when everybody's at home looking for that human connection
Yeah.
more now than ever. So it heightened how people prioritize this. And
Hmm.
singles are thinking to themselves, oh my God, I'm like stuck in the house by myself. This is awful. We gave them that opportunity to connect deeply with another human being. And we had great success stories, even during a pandemic.
You're telling me again before when we were talking, a little bit of, like some of the adjustments you made and the way you arranged like the dates. Can you share a little bit about that? I thought that was really cool. Like some of the things you did to make um, it, to make the connection possible, for folks that you were helping.
Yeah, so we did Zoom dates and we're like, we want to still make it fun, give them something to talk about, a way to connect. So we would do little wine tastings where they would order, three different bottles of wine and then they would do the tasting together or they would play a game together. We would have them order this game that's just fun about asking questions with each other or do a
Yeah.
little picnic together. Just because you're not in the same room doesn't mean it can't be fun and interesting. So we really worked on creating effective dates that people got excited about. And honestly, it was just fun.
Yeah, I mean that sounds especially, what we all remember of COVID and being stuck and like, what the heck do I do with this? Like so to create those fun experiences, um, yeah, that's great. In fact, just to share a little bit, a little different. two of our best friends, my wife and I, um, we we connected over Zoom. I mean, we met before the pandemic, but we started this like sort of tradition of a happy hour over Zoom. And in fact, we're gonna do it tonight as well. Like we're now that we've had kids
Yeah.
and like we're still doing it. And it was every week for a while. Now it's more like once or twice a month maybe. But like yeah, so like there's a very real connection that can happen if you put in a little extra work and to make it an authentic connection. Um,
Yeah.
so it worked for you guys. And um, what happened during the pandemic? How long did that last? Was business bad? Was it good? Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, our first full year of business, we were $1 million business. Our second full, I mean, we just were in last year, Inc. 5,000. We were ranked 639
Yeah.
on the top 5,000 fastest growing businesses. So clearly it worked, but it was with, again, the belief system that it was going to work.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if what you pay attention to, Colin, definitely gets bigger.
Yeah.
So we just paid attention to, we're going to win. So we're going to win. The client's going to win. Everybody's going to win because we
Yeah.
play big over here. And when you live that way, your culture of your company becomes that way. They really, you're the driving force. As the owners, if you think you don't affect how people that work with you see the culture of the company, absolutely do. Whether you're in the day to day or not, and we happen to be. Amber and I, this is like our child. This is our baby. Like we're totally immersed, know everything that's going on. We're the only
Mm.
ones that take on clients. We don't have salespeople. Just
Okay.
don't. It doesn't make sense to us. We want to work with people that we feel confident they're going to be in the 90% of our success rate, not the 10.
Hmm. Curious, how many people are on your team? How many does it take to run the company?
There's 8 of us
Okay.
collectively. Yes.
Okay. So fairly small for, multi-million dollar company. That's fantastic. And um, also speaks to the business model that um, an exercise I have clients go through is thinking through what are the resources it takes to produce your service. So
Hmm.
yes, you think about it in terms of like profitability and like the profitability of the service. That's really important. But also, what does it take? The first resource is time. How much time does
Yeah.
it take to fully execute your service, right? And I work with service-based businesses, and and then also, like how many people, what kind of skill sets, and and then of course how much money in terms of infrastructure expenses, overhead, that kind of thing, right? So business model exercise, and so there is there's both like a good foundation of a profitable service, and there's also the work that a business owner can do to create efficiencies and to make it well organized and well executed and follow a process. So I imagine that you've done a lot of work with regard to those things of making it efficient, making it while also keeping the quality up, um, following a process. Was that difficult to do, or did you get that from other companies you'd worked for, or how did that come about?
No, our systems came from our belief system, which was we need to treat our client the way we would want our brother, our sister, anybody that we know well. How would we treat them? And what kind of care would we take and walk through the process from that landscape
Hmm.
and then figure out a way to deliver.
Yeah.
The one thing with our company that I'm really proud of, it won't matter who you're working with, you will know you're working with SDS because everyone on our team follows our systems, handles the clients, same verbiage, same language. We all speak the same. It's
Hmm.
not like, oh, well, I hope I get somebody good over there. Honestly, you can't. There's nobody bad over here. You're dealing with exceptional people that believe in what they do, and collectively as a team, I've never seen 8 women adore, love, support, and encourage each other more
Hmm.
than our group here. And I've been in the industry almost 30 years. There's a lot of competitiveness, and
Right.
these women, they are. It's such a well-oiled machine at this. I almost got to like knock on wood in my head, like I don't want to ruin it. We're just unbelievably blessed that this group of women has come together and just so literally like you brought eight best friends together that just know each other, can finish each other's sentences, step in at any point. That's a rare thing to find.
It is a rare thing. And in fact, I would love to take a few minutes and kind of, unpack that, kind of dig around, like, okay, like to hear more about how you built that kind of culture. And you have a co-founder Amber, correct?
Yes. Amber Lee.
And Amber Lee.
Lee.
Yeah. Um, and how did you guys divide up, like the work, and like, where did you take any courses, read books? Did it kind of just come out of you naturally? Did you do like mindset work? Because you've mentioned like belief system and, the way that um, the way that you think about what you focus on grows, right? So if you can unpack that, like where did you learn some of these things? How did you organize yourselves? Who was in charge of what?
So, Colin, I have always been about self-improvement. I've never, even today, don't think I know everything. Um,
Yeah.
Even when I was out there selling long distance on the streets of Miami and Fort Lauderdale, I was going to Anthony Robbins,
Right.
seminars,
Okay. Sure.
taking the courses, Stephen
Yeah.
Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, probably one of the best books I've ever read.
Amen.
To think, this is what's interesting to me. New entrepreneurs coming up, they kind of look at you like, well, it's harder now, or, well, it was easier than, no, no, no. Amber and I came through it like at the worst possible time. But the common denominator between her and I is this. We are going to do what we each do very well, and we're going to keep our hands out of what we don't.
Hmm.
So there are things that Amber does well with the company that I'm not, excited to do. I do all the back end stuff. I do all of our marketing. She focuses more on the referral partners and the concierge side. So we both bring to the table unique qualities and skill sets that
Hmm.
collectively have made us grow. And I would say if you're going to be in a partnership, you don't want somebody like you. You want somebody that complements you. That's how
Yeah.
you grow faster.
Yeah. Well, so in fact, like when I tend to think in frameworks, and I deal in frameworks
Yeah.
professionally, right? So in terms of partnerships, fairly recently I formulated there's four elements to a good partnership, right? First of all, the value system is aligned, and it sounds like you had that. You guys were
Yeah.
friends, right? So
Yeah.
value system is aligned. Second thing is the complementarity of skills. Like you don't just want to duplicate yourself. No, no, no. You want someone who's good at another aspect of the business. Although there's overlap, so you're still passionate about some of the same things and that sort of thing. So there's complementarity, and then there's also like shared interests. And this seems a little more straightforward, perhaps in your case. An interest would be something that's deeply meaningful to you is to be successful, to make money, to be able to use your skills to help people in this specific industry, right? Loving to do those things, and then in some way those interests lock you together. Like I want to make money, you want to make money, and if we do this together, I can't make money the same way I could without you. Like the synergy idea from Stephen
Yeah.
Covey. And the last piece is trustworthiness, which is like a values alignment, but it's kind of a layer deeper, that like the integrity piece, that even though we've aligned values on business, unless I can trust you, we won't really be good partners. So sounds like you guys kind of running on all cylinders. Were there any hiccups? Were there any moments that were challenging trying to grow the business together?
No, I think because, so ideas we talked through together,
Hmm.
but execution we divided and conquered.
Okay. Okay.
Um, for me, the toughest piece of this business was Google and dealing with them.
Hmm.
This generation coming up, they've got it really good
Why
because,
that? Why is that? Yeah. Tell me.
yeah. So, one of the things that I've become an expert in is, advertise. We don't advertise anymore because, thank whoever, I will say we work probably 80% off direct referral. So
Yeah.
you won't see any ads from Select Date Society out there. And thank
Hmm.
goodness, because that was the toughest part of the job.
Hmm.
Today, you don't need Google the way you used to because
Yeah.
AI is literally combing. What you need to do is do this, get on podcasts, get on radio show talk shows, get on, get articles out there, become an authority in your business.
Hmm.
Because the most people today are looking at ChatGPT or Galaxy or any of the AI tools to figure out who they should work with.
Hmm.
So there's no more heavy weight in just one arena, which used to be Google Ads. And you either did them or you weren't seen.
Yeah. Yeah. So so being able to create content would you say, yeah, okay. Create content has worked really well. And that's one of the hardest, that's a heavy lift. I mean, I know for my own business, I mean, obviously this is part of the podcast is, to create content for my business. Um, and frankly, I find that very difficult in my own business, being very honest. And if that's working really well for you and that's really the strategies you pursued, yeah, is there some blood, sweat, and tears invested?
Well, everything takes blood, sweat, and tears, but there's either you can affect it or it's out of your control. To
Hmm.
me, Google was kind of out of my
I
control,
see. Yeah,
but this you definitely can affect. So
yeah,
in that sense, I think it's a huge advantage for new
yeah.
entrepreneurs.
Which is a mindset thing as well.
Yeah.
Focus on what you can control to
Right.
invest there. Um, that's awesome. So we've kind of touched on some things, but I think one of the most important things we can talk about are some challenges that you faced. And, again, you've kind of touched on a few. And that is really because I think, the devil works hardest when you're in a dark moment. He wants to kick you when you're down, right?
Right.
And, it's the natural belief or the thing that comes up, the accusation is you're alone. No one's ever been as stupid as you are. How could you do something like this? Why, like you're such a failure. You hear like all these awful things that we say to ourselves when we're struggling as an entrepreneur. Um, and yet every entrepreneur struggles.
Yeah.
So a big part of this podcast is sharing, okay, so what are some challenges that you've gone through as successful as you are, and how'd you get through those things? And
Well, I
maybe
think,
just like, yeah,
yeah,
one in
just
particular if you can,
one
like
in
it's
particular
especially, yeah.
is when you're starting the business and
Mm.
you're coming from the industry in a high volume, and then you start your own business and then it's crickets.
Yeah, yeah,
And then your confidence in what you were doing over here working for somebody else,
yeah,
then you feel like the wind behind your sails is just dissipated. It's gone away.
yeah,
That's where you've got to decide as an entrepreneur. Do you have the depth of character and do you have the tenacity? Do you have the grit for in those moments try to learn from somebody that's done it to learn instead of whine?
yeah.
You can whine, it's not going to get you anywhere. You can learn, reach out, get help, connect with those who've done it, and just be always every day move in some way in the right direction,
Hmm.
then you'll get somewhere. But if you're waiting for it to show up and happen to you, you're going to be very disappointed. So
And in
it's
fact,
being realistic with what being an entrepreneur means. Yeah, it's being your own boss. It sounds great. I'll tell you what, there's a huge responsibility behind that boss title that most people don't understand until they get in it.
yeah, payroll is like the biggest weight on
Yeah.
your shoulders
Oh.
ever.
Yes. Learn that
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So especially in the beginning, I I felt this in spades as well because I worked for some organizations that I just was so busy. I was in charge of 13 different organizations, and kicking butt and taking names and making all of them grow and seeing really cool stuff and people's lives change. And then starting my own business, yeah, like when you're working with one client, right? And it's like, was it the machine or was it me? Like was it like where's the magic and where's the
Yeah.
skill and um, yeah, and then sales. I mean, and again, like getting on sales calls where I was used to like showing up and I had a lot of authority already built up, but here I am pipsqueak, like just starting my business and yeah, I mean, so something similar to that where it was just you're like, man, where'd the wind go that was filling my sails and pushing me along, and now you have to like row to get it going.
But Colin, can I share something with you that could probably help your listeners too.
Oh,
Um,
please. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I would see, I've never, when I started this business with Amber, we never, we don't use the word SALES, period. And there's a reason why.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to feel like I'm doing something that could possibly negatively affect another person, or they could be making a bad decision. And when you're selling somebody, you're trying to influence them to do something you want them to do.
Mhm.
We don't look at it that way. Like,
Mhm.
only 1 out of 15 people I interview that I actually even take on. So I'm not looking at influence. I'm looking, is this a synergy?
Mhm.
And can I help you? Am I going to make your life better? Is this investment going to bring you to a place where you're going to tell people that you love us and want us to do well? So we had to come from that mind frame, and we just don't talk that word in this business. It is literally, we're either going to represent you and work with you, or we're going to refer you to somebody we feel could do a better job. And better job meaning you'll be happier with their price point than ours. Because if you're not happy with our price point, there's no point in doing it. I'm not going to talk somebody into it. And that's where we have completely flipped the script on this type of organization. We're not into the business of selling, we are into the business of collaborating to make people's lives better.
Boom, mic drop. Like that's phenomenal. I mean, I'm kind of allergic to sales myself, and although like I love pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, so I've taken a lot of sales courses, and tried different techniques and stuff. But at the end of the day, that again, that's phenomenal. And 115, because that's great. I think if you've owned a business and you've met with potential clients, yeah, there's a real synergy with some, and some that's like, and if you're trying to force it,
You're
no
going to pay
bueno.
for it. When you force it, you pay for it because that one client will take up 80% of your time. And if you want to keep good people, you've got to bring good people in.
Hmm, that's great. That's great. Um, okay, so I mean, I think you've shared a lot of wisdom. I would love to get more into like some of the things you've done in within the culture of your company, but for the in the to keep it about the right length, I think I'll
Oh,
just.
you just have to have me back, Colin. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, sure. Right. Absolutely. That'd be fun. And this is good. This is really good stuff. So, the future. What's your vision? Like what do you see happening for next 10 years or 20 years or 5 years, however you think about it?
Oh, when you get to my age, you just think in like the next year or two because you don't really want to think of that age that you're going to be in the next 10 years. But as
Fair
far as
enough.
what we're doing now, I'm actually super excited because
Mhm.
we've now decided, Amber and I, we've got such a well-oiled machine. The women are doing such a phenomenal job that we kind of want to work with one person at a time at a very deep level where we meet them in person, we fly to their house, we get to know their friends and family, we immerse ourselves into their world,
Mhm.
and just laser focus on them. And it's called the Founders Club.
Okay.
It's $1 million membership. We only work with one person at a time, and it's something that we just released this year. So super excited about that because what people don't understand is that singles that are in the billions or hundreds of millions, for them, they spend $1 million on a vacation.
Right.
This to find the love of their life, but get that true vetting and support that they need because they're a lot more difficult to find the right partner because in that price point, you're looking at a very small amount of individuals that are single in that world.
Right.
And we've got to get to them, which we're really, really good at. But that's what's the future is Amber and I really working with those high net worth clients, that ultra high net worth clients that wouldn't even consider this because even at our regular level, it's still not exclusive and private enough for them. They don't even want to be in a database.
Right.
So it would be a handwritten, like, we're going to take your information. It's going to be in a hand file in a suitcase with a lock kind of thing.
Wow. Okay. And I mean, that's very cool. So you're already a white glove premium service and just taking that to the next level, which I think, you've always got to be doing is like, what's the next level?
It's like you're going to
And
get Ritz-Carlton, but this is the penthouse.
right. Um, and and in fact, you mentioned this, when we talked before, as well, which I think it'd be really good to share because I experienced, I did, major donor fundraising for a while. And I experienced something that you mentioned in our conversation prior that you think, oh, this is so easy for you because you got all the money, you can drop whatever you want for dinner, or, like whatever, right? But in fact, it's kind of the reverse because
Mhm.
there's a lot of people trying to get you for your money or deceive or work you or what. So, you know, not to say, woe is me, I have $1 billion. That's not the idea. No, it's just like being real that like there's challenges. So like, can you just share just a little bit about like that reality that it's actually very challenging to date if
Yeah.
you're, yeah,
Like when you're worth hundreds of millions or you're a billionaire, or you're a very high profile person like an athlete or an actor,
right.
um, people think like, oh, it would be so easy for them. Actually, it's exactly what you said. There is a fear that they have that they're genuinely interested in the person, but the person's not genuinely interested in them. They're interested in their lifestyle.
Right.
So that's a that's very hard to uncover on your own. So
Yeah.
that's our job is to uncover who these people are before they even know about the person that we want them to meet and do that high level vetting so that the client can actually get excited about going out on a date because they know they're protected. It's like kind of like going out there and swimming in the ocean with the sharks and the piranhas and you hope you don't get bit or stung by a jellyfish. We take you into our nice little pond with the lily pads and it's just calm and they can really feel that if the connection is there, this is somebody that they could genuinely build a relationship and a life with. Because look, we're all human beings, and just because you have a big bank account doesn't take the heartache out of dating. It doesn't, and people don't realize that they're still people.
And actually, I'm curious too, like, and you only share this if you think it's appropriate and if you're
Sure.
comfortable. How many marriages have come from like your company? Is that a fair
We've had
question?
fun. Yeah, and if you go on selectdatesociety.com, if you go to our testimonial page, there's it's shocking to me that this many people actually were willing to put not only like their stories, but two of them did videos just because they really didn't believe this was going to happen. Um, but yeah, that we've had tons of marriages in 5 years, more success here in 5 years than I have had over the last 20.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
amazing, but there's a reason for it.
Right.
Uh,
Exactly. Yes. That
we're getting to know these people like you would a really good friend, at a much deeper level, and the care and concern is through the roof. So it's a different animal.
awesome.
You get what you pay for, kind
It's
of.
also true. Yeah. Um, that's great. Yeah. And maybe next time we meet, we talk about because like one of my aspirations is to be executive level coach, and like elite level coach working with very small businesses who usually can't afford a coach. So, like I've got a little bit of a reverse model, right?
Yeah,
And it'd be really interesting to kind of compare notes because I do think like everything you're talking about, like, is applied. And I think this is true of any kind of real business. And in fact, this is why I like small businesses too, because there's a real authenticity and a human connection to them where you actually get to know what's this person really like, you know?
yeah,
And that's something that you bring, and and the results speak for themselves because there's an authenticity and there's a power in the connection and really knowing a person, and the integrity. So fantastic. Then just to wrap, who would you like to connect with at this point, and how can they reach you?
yeah. So honestly, for us, we want to only connect with people that being finding a relationship, not being single, is their highest priority. We're not a dating service. Like if you want to date, there are so
Tinder or
many
whatnot.
dating services happy
Right.
to recommend you to them. We're an executive search firm for people that want their last first date because they want to be done with this. If that's the level of intention that you have, yes, we'd love to speak with you. But just to give you a range, so I don't waste anybody's time either, our memberships start at 75,000, they go up to $1 million. We only will take on clients if we feel confident that you're going to be in the 90% of our success rate. So I don't care if somebody's a billionaire. If you're coming at me and you're narcissistic or otherwise, quite frankly, we're not going to work with you, because my team will get up in the morning and dread going to work. Don't want that. We want people that want to let us do our job, hand over their issue of the challenge of dating to us, and let them enjoy and go out and get an opportunity to meet somebody that's going to complement their world and make their life better.
And to be themselves. And
yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Very cool. And how does someone reach you if they're like, well, that's me? How do they reach you?
Yeah, so it's Select Date Society. They can go to our website. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. But yeah, going to HTTPS that Select Date Society altogether.
More straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So the website. And actually, and I'm just curious, and again, actually full freedom to say no, because actually I think that's one of the like sort of master skills of a good leader, knowing when to say no. But would you be open, if anyone hears this and they're starting their business, or they're entrepreneurs, would you be open to connecting with them if they reached out? Not obviously not to be a client, but just to be able to ask you questions and get some mentoring. Would you be open to that? Do you have time for that?
So this is what I'd be open to. My email address is sandra@selectdatesociety.com.
Okay.
I am happy, because when I'm free time, when I'm downtime, I am happy to support, but it needs to be succinct. That's all I would ask. Like, don't ask me 15 questions, ask me your top two, so that I have time to help as many people as I can. That I'd be more than happy to help anybody that's looking to kind of button up what they're doing and project their future success, and support that 100%.
Well, I really appreciate that, because I think that's such an important work, especially if you've done well, and like I'd love to hear more about how you build culture. So yeah, thank you for that, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you for doing this. I really enjoyed this, and it's a little bit of a different world that I usually deal in, but really really great, really appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Colin. And like I said, this has been great for me too, and I hope that you have me back.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for listening. This is Colin Davis signing out. And remember, we're here to help you on your journey as an entrepreneur at But First Principle.